Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Constance the Reader, and I am doing a book tag today because I saw Books with Bonnie do this, and I've never seen the bedtime book tag before, and I'm obsessed. As soon as I saw her video, I was like, I want to do this. I have so many good answers. So yes, the bedtime book tag, I saw this video by Books with Bonnie. Please go watch her video. And I did some research, and it looks like the originator of this book tag is someone called Kelly Robb. I'll put their information down in the description box. I don't think that they've posted like within the year, but you know, it is what it is. Everybody comes back to booktube eventually, I assume. You can always take a hiatus. But anyway, let's get straight into it. Question 1, what book kept you up all night reading? I have 2. So the most recent book that I can remember that I know I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning reading. I don't know why I was up that late. I mean, I honestly, I think I finished this book. Oh God. I just couldn't go to sleep until I finished it. And I remember looking at my watch and being like, how the hell is it 5 o'clock in the morning? I don't know what the hell was wrong with me. That was 5 Dark Fates by Kendar Blake. So this is the final book in the 3 Dark Crowns series. And I was anticipating this book. It did not disappoint for me. I really loved this series. I don't know what it is about the series, but it had something in it, and I was picking up what it was putting down. Okay, I loved this book, and I stayed up all night to finish it. And I just remember, I remember being like, I was so wired while I read it. I wasn't even tired. But as soon as I finished it, I shut down. I was exhausted after that. It was a roller coaster. I think I did cry. Obviously, this was a few years ago, but this always stands out in my mind of one that I deliberately stayed up all night to finish. This one, I don't know that I stayed up all night reading this. It's been so long. I may very well have actually like finished this at a reasonable time at night, but I read this back in like 18, maybe 2017, and that was Feed by Mira Grant. Now, Mira Grant is an author that I highly recommend. I love Mira Grant's books, and some people might also know Seanan McGuire. Mira Grant and Seanan McGuire are the same person, but obviously if you've read the books by the same person, you know that there's a difference between like the atmosphere and the writing, and like one is more maybe young adult and one is more adult. The way this ended was, oh my God, I cried so hard. And this actually might come in handy for another question. I just realized that. But this book was fantastic. I did absolutely stay up following the story. It was so good. I highly recommend the series if I were you. Read this trilogy by Mira Grant. That's all I have to say. All right, question 2. What book made you scared to go to sleep? So no books actually keep me up at night, but I chose books that really, really freaked me out, and I had nightmares. I had nightmares of like literally right after reading it. So The Caro Haunt by Darcy Coates, that gave me nightmares. Parasite by Darcy Coates gave me nightmares. And here's the thing, this one, like, I started reading really, really late at night. So the first chapter I finished and I was like falling asleep, but I was instantly scared as hell when I finished it, and I had a nightmare immediately after. And this scene didn't keep me up, but I will say that Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant was really scary. Although now that I'm thinking about it, the scene that has always scared me, I was not actually in my room. I was driving on my way to work, listening to it as an audiobook, and there's this one scene where this diver descends and she sees the monsters. That scared the absolute shit out of me. So good. Question 3. What book almost put you to sleep? So I'm gonna kind of interpret this differently, because no books actually put me to sleep because they're like so boring or whatever. But this book was just boring enough that maybe if I was already really tired, I would just fall asleep out of sheer boredom. Unfortunately, though, I listened to the vast majority of Jenny Lawson's book, Broken, in the best possible way as an audiobook. And I hated this book. I do not recommend listening to this as an audiobook if you cannot stand the sound of a whiny, high-pitched voice. Her voice was grating. But in terms of like a book that like, I didn't even want to finish this, it has to go to this one. So I know this doesn't really apply to bedtime, but if I was the type of person where a book would have been so boring that it put me to sleep, it would be this one, to be honest, especially if I had been reading it and not listening to it as an audiobook. The only reason why I have it as a physical copy is because this was my mom's book club pick for her month a few months ago. She had the book. She bought the book physically. I found out that the book was free as an Audible on Hoopla. So I started listening to it first. I knew that I could not finish it, so she was kind enough to give me her physical copy, and she said, okay, well, you can do whatever you want with it. So I will be selling this, getting rid of it, because I did not want to own it. But had I been physically holding this in my hand, and maybe I didn't have to listen to her voice, which caused me to stop the audiobook so many times, I would have fallen asleep because it was that boring, that annoying, and I just hated it. No, thank you. Question 4, what book had you tossing and turning in anticipation of its release? So I have a few picks for this. The first one that came to mind was Jeanette McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mom Is Dead, or I'm Glad My Mom Died. I learned about that book like before she was even doing interviews about it. I think before most people like really like it started to become really popular, people talking about, oh my God, the name of this book, like on Book Talk and stuff. I am not a fan of iCarly. I didn't watch that. I was kind of already like out of the age that would have been interesting to me. But as soon as I saw the cover, the name, the title of the book, I knew I wanted to read it. And then I started, seeing what people were talking about, or the comments that she had been making about the content of the book, about her mom and the abuse. And I was like, I have to read this book. I just know that it is going to be a book that I will want to read and will want to get my hands on, and it did not disappoint, which is like such a weird thing to say for a book like that, but I listened to it as an audiobook and it was fantastic. This is another one. This is not recent. I do not care about this author anymore, but when I was a kid, I started the series when I was a kid, but when I actually had my own money, I was an adult. But it was Laurel K. Hamilton's Anita Blake series. Not this particular book. The particular book that I remember, like, I have to get it, I rushed to Books A Million as soon as it was released, was Affliction. And it is buried under the other hardcover books, and I did not want to pick that out. So I got the first one. That was easy to take off the shelf. But this used to be the author that I was like, I anticipate the new books. Not so much anymore, which makes me sad a lot of the time, but Anita Blake series used to be my series. You could not tell me anything about this. Granted, I already had my thoughts, so no one really needed to tell me about it, but yeah, that was the anticipated. And lastly, I couldn't believe that it took me so long to remember this book, but I was so excited for this book. This one, I think, came out when, I think it was in March, or it either came out in March or right before March. I took it with me to the vacation that me and my family have like every year. And I didn't even really spend time with my family because I had to read Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. I know that not a lot of people like Sarah J. Maas. I know a lot of people hate Throne of Glass. I really genuinely love this series, not for Selena Sardothian, okay? Absolutely for the witches, for Lysandra, basically for everybody that's not the main characters. I cried so much reading this book. This was everything to me, okay? I loved it, and I remember another instance of running to Books A Million when it was released, waiting, grabbing it. And I didn't even take this big ass book with me. I got it as an ebook just so it would be easier for me to take to the beach. So yes, this one, I anticipated the hell out of this book and I devoured it very quickly. Question 5, what book has your dream girlfriend, boyfriend? So for me personally, I don't really care about stuff like that. I know that there's a lot of people who fiend over some characters, but the only one that I could think of was Dani Brown. Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. Of all 3 Brown sisters, Dani is absolutely my favorite. I would want to be friends with all 3, but Dani would have to be my best friend, or we would have to be in a relationship. I also love her boyfriend, so I don't mind being in a throuple, okay? Couple, throuple, threesome. I would definitely be a third in their relationship if they wanted that. So yeah, of the 3 of the 3 sisters in this family of this series, yeah, it would be Dani, it would be her boyfriend, Zaf. Yeah, it's gonna be them. I'm gonna be a third. I'm not going to like interfere with their lives. I'll just show up when they want some fun. You can use me and then I'll leave. It's fine. This is the couple for me. Question 6, what book world would be the worst nightmare to live in? There were so many to choose from for this, but I felt like I would keep it kind of light because, you know, I read some, I mean, I could have chosen a nonfiction book, would just be real life. So that it's already nightmare living here. But Fire Force, this is a frightening world to live in when you think about it. If you've never read Fire Force, I think it's a great series. The complaints that people have about it are absolutely valid. I have the same complaint. But basically, this is a time where people can turn into an infernal. So they burst into flames. It's basically like spontaneous combustion. And you have people like Shinra and these firefighters who specifically fight the fires of people like who are turning into infernals. And then there are generations of people who then can manipulate fire. So he has a fire generation. I can't remember what his generation is, like 2nd generation. And, you know, he has flames coming out of his feet, blah, blah, blah. This is a frightening world to live in because it can affect anyone. And then there is an organization that is creating infernals. That's scary to me. I don't want to be a part of that. Even though Zom 100 is such an amazing, funny, honestly, like heartfelt moments at times in this series, zombies scare the shit out of me. I am scared of zombies. The thought of a zombie apocalypse scares me. I know that in reality, you know, The Walking Dead wouldn't really work, especially if you're in the South, where they're just going to rot and decompose. Like that would happen, but it doesn't matter. Zombies are scary to me, especially the ones that can run. I don't like that. So I went with manga here because these scare the shit out of me and I don't like that. I do not like that at all. You could also include Feed for this because Feed has to do with zombies. It's a little bit more than that, but Feed is also a world I would not want to live in. No. Question 7. What book cover reminds you of nighttime? So honestly, I feel kind of bad for this because I really could not think of a book. So I just chose Platinum End Volume 13. Just first of all of these covers are beautiful, but this one, even though most of them like seem very celestial, lots of kind of glittery stars, you see the holographic. She's beautiful. She's shining. I hope y'all can see that on camera. It's very pretty. Obviously, this one reminded me the most of nighttime. It's a little bit more dark. You have a darker sky. Red reminds me of darkness. So freaky ladybug. But yeah, I went with this one just because it was easy. I'm sorry. Sorry for the easy pick. Question 8. What book has a nightmarish cliffhanger? So again, Feed could count for that, the first book in the series, because the way that that ended, I was heartbroken. I was so scared. I couldn't handle it. So it was like a nightmare for me. I also chose White Smoke by Tiffany Jackson. Okay, so the reason why I chose that one is everything that happens with Marigold. That book was so good. I cried. I've mentioned this when I did my review. I cried for like 10 minutes straight, listened to it as an audiobook while trying to make chili. It was not a fun experience making the chili. The thing about the ending of White Smoke is that it's not a fantasy. It's actually the world that we live in. And this family of people in the town who are basically using the tools of white supremacy to keep the town the way that they want it. It's a white family. The fact that she will try to expose what's going on, but you don't know if she does. So yeah, I've read other books that you could say were a bit similar in trying to bring down like the racist, white supremacist organization, but like they did like a epilogue where they're both working together to take it down, and we know that that's what they're doing. At least in the audiobook, the way it ended, Marigold just said, yep, this is my plan, and then that was it. And I don't know if she's okay. I don't know if the characters that I don't know if this particular character got away. That really, really hurt me because I was sad. So nightmarish in that, very, very real, something that is happening today. Too much. Okay, so question 9, what book have you actually dreamed about? Pretty much all scary books I end up having a dream about because I have a nightmare after reading them. That's all that could really come to mind for me of books that I dream about. I'm sure that there are others, but because I've kind of read more manga recently, the ones that are like fiction are the ones that like fiction novels, not a manga, where I really have to use my imagination and it's not, you know, a picture on a page, it's not a comic panel. Those are the ones that stick out to me and that have happened recently anyway. So it's definitely going to have to be like all the scary books I end up reading. I always end up having a nightmare about them. And the last question, what book monster would you not want to find under your bed? To me, this one was easy. And now you might say, monster? No, this is a monster. And it's the entire white European family in Mexican Gothic, okay? The grandfather? Hell fucking no. I don't want that man under my bed. His son? Absolutely not. I don't want anybody that was affected by the fungus in this fucking book, the family that brought the fungus with them. I do not want them under my bed. Just the image that I had in my mind was horrifying. I mean, just too much. If this ever becomes a movie, I really hope they do a good job of really like, you know, what I had in my mind of these pasty, dingy, dusty ass people, racist people, by the way. I hope they do it justice because they're frightening. Very, very, very fucking scary. Too much for me, if I'm being quite honest. And that's it. That is the bedtime tag. Anybody who wants to do this tag, please do it. I would love to see what your answers are. What did you think of mine? Are there any books that I read that you agree with that were just great? Any that were, you don't like it? I totally understand. Let me know. I'd love to know what your answers would be. Even if you don't want to do a video, tell me in the comments. With that being said, thank you so much for watching my video. If you like the video, please like the video. If you like it, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Goodbye.